once more into the breach. Ain't it so? It's too true. Why, hello. I've been expecting you. Welcome to my Investigatorium. Today, we will, of course, be looking at a story of myth and creation, beginnings and end states, the past, and how it happened. Now, what began as a loose personal study of mine quickly evolved into something of a book review. Many a thing has happened in the past, and accounts vary. And this book shall now tell us why.
The Sirius Mystery is an artful, curious book which drew upon the anomaly that is the religion of the Dogon people of Africa, written by Robert Temple, who was inspired after a particular citation in an overview book, African Worlds, cited the field research of the duo Graul and Deiterlen.
Here we may see on the left a Dogon figure of the system of Sirius as drawn in the sand by some of these four gentlemen, while on the right is the more modern orbit, each of those lines leading to where Sirius B would be in its rotation every 10 years. Here we have another such comparison, but with the whole deal of spiralification that real solar systems tend to do. Behold Jupiter and its 4 moons, and the ring of Saturn, if it's not just 2 balls.
Behold with your eyes but a taste of the 300-page tome wherein our hero, Professor Temple, acquires his translation and brings forth the secrets of the Dogon mythos his predecessors uncovered. As it is revealed, Dogon High Priest wisdom revolves around a star they know as Digitaria, or to us as Sirius B, which is a white dwarf and should be impossible for them to have discovered, as well as massively improbable that their oral tradition was deluded by a forgotten foreigner in the mere last 100 years since the star's discovery.
The worlds of spiraling stars were populated universes, for as he created things, Amma gave the world its shape and its movement and created living creatures. There are creatures living on other Earths. This proliferation of life is illustrated by the expansion of the myth, in which it is said, "On the 4th Earth it is said men dwell, but on the 3rd there are men with horns, Inu Gamagarugu. On the 5th, Inu Delugu, men with tails, and on the 6th, Inu Bomo, men with wings." This, Temple writes, and I am still quoting except for this part, in which I describe that I'm quoting him, emphasizes the ignorance of what life is on other worlds, but also the certainty that it exists. Fascinating. So fascinating. Our system, referred to as Ogo's placenta. Solar systems are just called placentas here. Don't worry about it, just go along. Hold on a second. Better. Meanwhile, the system of the star Sirius and its companion star and satellites are referred to as Nomo's placenta. Nomo is the collective name for the great culture hero and founder of civilization who came from the star Sirius to set up society on Earth. Nomo, or to be more precise, the Nomos, were amphibious creatures. These Nomo are more or less equivalent to the Sumerian and Babylonian tradition of Oannes. What is an Oannes, you might ask? That's right, you thought amphibious space founders of civilization were a merely Dogon art?
No. In the many thousands of years before the modern Dogon, Berosus, who is a man, he describes his country's tradition of the origins of its civilization. A group of amphibious beings were credited by the Babylonians with having founded their civilization. The Babylonians call the main individuals here Oannes. Oannes became the fish god of the Philistines, known as Dagon. Now, despite how deep into the lore of hitherto unthinkable historical realities Temple delves in this book, it would do him a disservice not to represent some of the foot-dragging he expresses in coming to the outlandish conclusions which he does. He clarifies his sense of cringe for the very communities most eager to believe him at his word, and that no Clark tech that's as of yet fantasy technology, such as gravitational propulsion or unnecessary magical elements, need to be inserted into the mystery for it to be credible.
Berosus' fragments were preserved by the historian Apollodorus, and they read, "There appeared another personage from the Erythraean Sea like the former, having the same complicated shape between a fish and a man." Here's some more of that page if you want to read it. Go ahead. Go right on ahead. I'll just put some more of the reading. You'll deal with it. Temple elucidates that their descriptions of the spacemen and landings of spaceships, or at least what seem to be such, are left to Chapter 8. Chapter 8. The Dogon described the sound of the landing of the Ark.
The Dogon describe the sound of the landing of the Ark. They say the word of Nomo was cast down by him in all 4 directions as he descended, and it sounded like the echoing of the 4 large stone blocks being struck with stones by the children, as we all know.
And I quote, "It is said of Nomo, or more probably of his Ark,
he is like a flame that went out when he touched the earth. Nomo was as red as fire. When he landed, he became white. The Dogon differentiate the landing ark that Nomo used to visit the earth, and the new star which remained in the sky, which, departing once Nomo had returned to the, the space up there." Hold your tongue, myself. This might have been misleading if you thought Nomo left with the star. Well, no. Nomo stayed on Earth for some time, only leaving far later and in other circumstances. Now, when I say Temple wants you to believe that he is not a believer in any wackadoo theory, he also describes it as such. Speaking of his disbelief of modern-day extraterrestrial civilizations buzzing around in flying UFOs, seeing it as relatively nonsensical and a waste of resources and time to make a show of themselves for no apparent purpose. So the Dogon, they consider the lander, which followed, to have been an ark, one which, as you've seen earlier, is confusingly featured, both as a fish and a landing capsule, like a fish capsule from space. What's up with that? So yada yada, not all the Nomos came to Earth. The 3 types of Nomos. Great Nomo stayed in space, kinda led the Nomos, doesn't do grunt work visiting a bunch of monkeys. Second type, presumably the Nomo we know. The messengers are Nomo. The third type of Nomo, we'll get to that in a moment. The fourth type of Nomo is actually the naughty Ogo. I bet you weren't expecting that. He rebelled against his creator and introduced disorder to the universe. He will eventually become the pale fox also. We might be the pale fox. Considering that Nomo's placentas where Nomo is and Ogo's placentas where we are incidentally and in need of help from a more civilized personage like Nomo and Nomo's. At this point in the writing of this piece, I found my objective skepticism usually so impeccable tenderized like some kind of shrimp in a blender. Foreseeing this day, I sent out to find myself a skeptic, tried and true in his convictions against that of the alien, the heretic, the space fish. And so, after discovering him in this here paperwork, I went out and sought an interview with a renowned local alien skeptic and a dog farmer.
I just don't see why they think they has to come to this land at all. I mean, if you don't live here, you don't got to be coming here. Oh, I know why they want to be, but they just shouldn't have the right.
Perhaps he had a point. If the Nomo came here to change us, why? How could we be sure of their goodwill at all? My injured skepticism needed opposition, but now I just had more to ruminate with than ever. I had to ask him more. I had to be sure. Tell me, skeptic, please. I need to hear of your doubts. Have aquatic aliens ever visited us here? And if so, why did they leave us?
I mean, them wetbacks, they ain't never left.
Oh, Lord. That didn't go as expected. Going on. After the lander had landed, according to the Dogon, an interesting series of events took place, which make a great deal of sense if one remembers that amphibious creatures were inside of the craft, which is sometimes also called and drawn as Nomo.
Answer your mystery.
Something described as a horse, but more accurately as a quadruped, appeared, which pulled the ark with ropes to a hollow, so that momentarily it looked like a chariot pulled by ropes. And I'm just going to use this quadruped, I'm just going to call it not horse for the moment, because I don't see another mention of it, and I'm skimming this book if you cannot tell. Maybe it was a robot horse. Now, in the next rainfall, the hollow was filled up with water. The fish ship ark Nomo was then in the water, and that picture makes perfect sense. And was from then on called Nomo of the Pond. More Nomo facts, I bet you wanted more Nomo facts, are both genderless, and they breathe through an air gill hole drawn here, this oval there, not a vagina. The name of the Nomo comes from the word's root, in fact, Nomo, with one M. Then, and forgive me for this part's a little bit weird, and the meaning of that is to make one drink, or grog. And is said that the Nomo divided his body up among men to feed them. Oh. As the universe had drunk of his body, the Nomo also made men drink. He also gave all his life principles to human beings and was crucified on a Kalina tree, which also died and was resurrected. The tree, I think. Oh, that third Nomo. Let's talk about it. Oh, Nomo. Nomo of the Pond, hence the picture, will be sacrificed for the purification and reorganization of the universe. He will then rise in human form and descend on Earth in an ark with the ancestors of man. Then he will take to his original form, and will rule from the waters and give birth to many descendants. Yes.
Okay, there is so much left to cover.
My mind is still reeling like some kind of fish, and I didn't even get to the parts about theorizing and describing about what Nomo life might be like. One of these sentences, which I would like to animate for you all, reads, "If you were one of these creatures, you would be like a great dolphin, but with arms and hands." That's good. That's good. In hindsight, that was terrifying. Dear readers, What we have here is a creation myth, substantiated by at very least 2 other civilizations, centered on a star and astronomical data with information they shouldn't have had about a particular star that was featured, by the way, in one of the windows of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And it is a story about a space-born savior of the human condition, of the wild animal Ogo, sent by Amma, which, by the way, the Dogon word Amma for creator is synonymous with their word for heaven. And that's pretty cool if you think about it. There's more to this book. There's some baller artistry. He writes about a experience of how a fish person might seem to a little girl who finds them pretty and imagines, wow, she's so smooth and she can probably swim so fast. And her mother, who shrieks in horror at the fleshy mockery of human being. And so did the Babylonians also find these creatures disgusting. They called them abominations. They said they were semi-demons, not gods. And yet they credit them with founding their civilization. It's a bit like saying the furries founded your political party. You wouldn't do it unless it was true. Ogo, the imperfect, just brimming with that earthling spunk, yet to be completely civilized by the Nomos in due time. But seeing as how we're maybe not too perfectly well-to-do right now on this planet, maybe our barbaric, unenlightened ways could use a bit more civilizing. You know, maybe. Anytime soon. Hint. Hint, hint. Gentle persons of the viewing public, I am at my wit's end. The day has yet begun, save for the editing to come. If you are curious, procure yourself the actual book. Do not do any consultations with space dolphins. Not yet, anyways. I cordially invite you, in the fashion of my Zoomer forebears, to smash that like button, to fuck that subscribe button, and to royally pipe down that subscribe button in the comments down below. Add your own theory to why the dolphins have come, and why these fish people are actually yourself from another dimension.
But seriously, who is supposed to have built Atlantis if not these fellows?
Until the future, my friends. Stay safe. Entertain yourselves, excuse me. And don't go talking to dolphins.
Oh no! Ogo's influence has even begun to affect the dolphins.